Well, my next guest is a proud fifth-generation Kansan who has represented the 4th District in the U.S. House of Representatives since 2017. Would you please give a big welcome to Congressman Ron Estes. Congressman, good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Before you went to Congress, you served as a state treasurer, so finance is sort of your thing.
Right.
You get to Congress and you look around and you think, these people don't know how to manage money.
They really don't. And that's an understatement for sure.
So a lot of us are frustrated. We see the just spending that just keeps going and going. President Biden says, well, we're going to have to raise taxes to keep up with this spending.
Yeah.
Why is that not the best idea?
Well, it's not the best idea. Let's just talk a little bit about the economy as it is. You know, the first quarter of this year, the economy started slowing down. We've seen just a 1.6% growth in the GDP. And that's after 3 straight months of inflation going up. In fact, going back the 3.5 years or 3.25 years since President Biden came into office, inflation's gone up 19.4%, and real income's gone down almost 4%.
So we're talking really with income down and inflation up, that's basically 23% lost money to every American household.
It's a net impact. In fact, for my Kansans that live in the state of Kansas, it's about $1,000 a month that they're having to spend for the same the clothes, the same food, the same gas, the same rent because of that inflation. And so now certainly not the time to take more money out of people's pockets, which is what President Biden and Secretary Yellen are talking about doing. Really what, you know, with the economy slowing, you know, it's a direct change from where we were just before COVID. I mean, we had the wages going up, we had unemployment low, we had low inflation, we had the economy going well, and people were happy. And then what we're seeing now, because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that were happening in 2017, we were able to help make people keep more money in their pocket. And what we saw was business economic growth took off. We saw a lot of growth out of that. Some of those provisions were set to expire. Some of them already have. There's more of them set to expire in 2025. President Biden said he's going to allow those taxes to go back up. For some people, it's as much as a 25% increase in their tax rate.
Wow.
Yeah, and just that hit on top of people. And so we're working now, the Republicans in the House of Representatives are focused on how do we keep that good economy growing, how do we keep money in people's pockets. So we've created some tax teams to go focus on different areas of the tax code to help make that good changes in policy moving forward. And I'm chairing what's called the Innovation Tax Team, where we're focusing on how do we use some of the great ideas that come out of Americans and continue those great products, the great new ideas, and come up with what may be the next growth driver for our economy. And Americans in general are really innovative. I mean, we've invented everything from air conditioners to zippers and so many things in between around that. And we want to incentivize or at least have a tax code that doesn't hurt in that regard.
Yeah, well, when we tax productivity and then we basically reward irresponsibility, it's amazing. We get less responsibility and we get less innovation because that's what happens. You're punishing the productivity of people that want to create something. And that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
President Biden has also talked about doing something pretty dramatic with the capital gains tax, which a lot of people, it kind of goes over their head. What does it mean? But in a nutshell, help me understand that he would say that even if you haven't sold, let's say a piece of property, you bought it for $100,000, somebody decides that it's worth $300,000 because you bought it 50 years ago. You would have to pay tax on what it might be worth even if you haven't sold it?
That's right, which is just, it's a thought generally that we don't want people to invest and make good decisions and grow the economy is somehow tied up into their mindset of thinking through that. If you do not have the cash, you can't pay for maybe that perceived $200,000 increase in value. Where are you going to get the cash? You're going to sell the property in order to raise the money to pay the taxes, which means then you can't continue to grow. It can't help the economy, help more people have jobs. And we're firm believers that the government should tax as little as it can to provide those core functions, and we ought to make sure that people have as much money in their pockets.
Gosh, what a wonderful idea, Congressman. You know, and I think maybe some of it is I look at some of the people in Congress and look at their backgrounds, they're academicians and others, and they've never signed the front of a paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, so they've never run a business. They've never had to make payroll out of their back pocket. And I don't know how we fix that, but would it help if we had a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution where Congress had to do what the rest of us have to do?
Yep. Yeah. It really would. You know, we 49 of the 50 states have a requirement that they balance the budget.
Yep.
Federal government is able to get away with because we're been such a strong economy for decades, because we've been fiscally responsible. And some people are now putting that at risk because they're wanting to continue to spend, make sure the deficit's growing and the debt's growing. Our debt now is $34.6 trillion, which basically means the federal government every second is borrowing $100,000.
Every second?
Every second. And so we've got to turn that around. We need to make sure that we're prudent managers of the taxpayer money that comes into the federal government, make sure that we're addressing those issues, and make sure that we're trying to help the economy and help people keep more money in their pocket, take care of their families.
Well, it's great having you here, Congressman.
Well,
if you want to keep up with all of Congressman Essex's news, including his fight against the debt and deficit, if you go to Huckabee.tv, we will link you to the Congressman and the things that he's doing for you, even if you don't live in his district. Keith Bilbrey, am I reading this right? I mean, are we moving from informative to maybe dangerous things coming up?
We sure are. And a dangerous